The Big 12 is meeting today in Dallas, and one of the things that they are certainly going to discuss is adding Gonzaga Basketball as a basketball-only member to the Big 12, and I think this is absolutely a no-brainer. While I do believe, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, I think that Gonzaga Basketball is overrated. I think it would be a phenomenal ad for the Big 12, and I actually think that it would be a really bad moment in time for the Pac-12, which is just as much reason as any to do it if you are the Big 12. But it makes all the sense in the world to add Gonzaga to what is already the best basketball conference in the country in the Big 12. And, Jake, it seems like this is that move that could tip the balance of survivability for the Pac-12, because I actually think Gonzaga is one of the only members that you can add if you're the Pac-12 that can help you remain viable.
Yeah, well, and I think this conversation about, basically geography with the Pac-12 is fascinating when you look at this Gonzaga Big 12 situation. Like, you look at the Pac-12 and you begin to understand that the TV deal, TV market situation that we've talked so much about really is impacted by the fact that, the Pac doesn't have Southern California. We've said that. You guys know that. But I think when we look at this Gonzaga situation, understanding that, hey, the Big Ten is now in Southern California, and then now understanding, okay, well, now the Big 12's trying to get into our market as well. They're trying to get into the middle of our territory as well. And so it just kind of sends this message that these conferences are slowly but surely, taking the Pac away. They're slowly but surely biting into that apple. And for me, I look at Gonzaga and I say, yeah, sure. May they be overrated? Maybe. I mean, who really knows, right? But the reality is they're one of the best basketball programs in the country. We know that. Like, that's just a reality of it. Whether they're number 1 or number 10, I don't really care. What matters is that they make money and they add value to your conference. And so if you're the Big 12, you got to be looking at this and saying, okay, we definitely want to expand west with our footprint. And what better way to kind of dip into that a little bit, kind of get our toe in the water a little bit, than to add a basketball only? I know it's not football revenue. I know that it's not some juggernaut. It's not, Oregon or Washington or hell, even Utah, right? Like we've talked about. But Gonzaga has a lot of value. And so to me, if I'm the Pac and I'm looking at this, I'm saying, I'm saying, okay, here we go again. We have yet another opportunity. And again, not that Gonzaga's in your conference right now, but they're a West Coast, operation. They're in your territory. So to me, it's like, if they go to the Big 12, that's yet another opportunity that you lost out on to add value in parlance to the TV deal, in parlance to making money and surviving.
Well, I think when you look at Gonzaga, I think it is the value in Gonzaga is the basketball program, obviously. And that value is that they are a nationally known program. Are they a juggernaut right away in the Big 12? Well, certainly they're not. And I don't think anybody expects them to be that, certainly. But what I also think very clearly is that Gonzaga makes the Big 12 a better property on the whole. Having that basketball brand in your conference makes you a better basketball conference. I think when streaming comes around, and I think whether it's the Pac-10 or whether it is the Big 12, I think you're going to see that stream is going to be a new revenue source for somebody. And I think when you already have a TV deal in place, and the other thing, obviously, is the pro rata part of this TV contract that the Big 12 just signed. Does Gonzaga move, their TV partners, ESPN and Fox, specifically Fox, does Gonzaga move Fox to pay more money to the Big 12? And I would have to say that they do. And I think, is that a P5? I don't know. Is that P5 money? I don't know. But what I know is that if you're Fox Sports and you can get Kansas and Gonzaga more than twice a season, and you can get a Big 12 tournament that's got Kansas and Gonzaga playing a championship game, I think you're all in on that.
Facts.
Because frankly, I think that when you can have Gonzaga, Kansas, or Gonzaga, Texas or Gonzaga BYU, which has turned into a great rivalry. If you can have Gonzaga versus any of the power players in the Big 12 instead of St. Mary's, I think you're in a far better place if you're Gonzaga and if you are the Big 12. And if you are Fox Sports, I think you'd much rather have that game. If you are any stream partner, if you're ESPN Plus, if you are Amazon Prime, if you're whoever, and Gonzaga basketball is playing, you want that game on your stream. And if it's a big game of consequence, if it's Gonzaga, Kansas, now we're cooking with gas.
Well, look at early in the season this year. You had Gonzaga, Michigan State on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Gonzaga pulls national relevance. And I think that really is the ad. It's not like they're not going to guarantee you, like national championships or something right out of the gate. But I think, when you can say to Fox, hey, we're going to have these big matchups, that's going to add to the overall value of the deal you already have. And when I look at the Pac-12, I say, dude, can you not see that Gonzaga, in Spokane versus, whoever, Washington, Oregon, Utah, that's the problem too. I on the other side of this for the Pac, basketball-wise, the Pac is really not great. They're okay. They're not anything special. And the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the land. We all know that. And I know that you've got Duke and UNC out there, out west, or out east, rather. I get it. I understand it. But when we look at top to bottom, the Big 12 is by far the best basketball conference in the country. And so to me, I just think it's a natural fit. But I think the bigger conversation isn't so much the fit in the Big 12. It's how the Big 12 adding Gonzaga is going to impact the landscape. And I still maintain, we just had this conversation yesterday for all those, who are regulars. This. We talked about this yesterday, that you have this situation where the Pac is struggling to get its ducks in a row as far as institutions are concerned, as far as the different schools and their philosophies on streaming being a tier 1 option. And so when I look at that conversation and how they're struggling with that conversation, and then I look at the fact that you've got all this smoke today about how the Big 12 is going to talk about adding Gonzaga. If the Big 12 adds Gonzaga, that just paves the way, in my opinion. It encourages, it incentivizes Oregon, Washington, and whatever other school wants to ride those coattails to the Big 10. I just don't see, if you have this kind of shift for a school like Gonzaga, why would you, as Washington or Oregon, stay in a conference that can't even figure out what their philosophy is on getting a TV deal?
Well, and I think one of the more interesting points that was made to me about the Pac-12, I was talking to a TV guy I know, and he made a really good point. For ESPN and ABC, it's not how many people are in a market. If you are the Pac-12 and you have this current situation where you're trying to negotiate a new TV deal,
right,
and you are trying to get more money from Fox, from ESPN, from ABC, ask yourself, what value does Pac-12 athletics right now today bring to ESPN, ABC, and Fox affiliates? If you are an ABC local TV station, and you're in Fresno, Modesto, if you're in Los Angeles, San Diego, San Bernardino, if you are anywhere in California from essentially the Bay Area south of the Bay Area, all the way down to Tijuana, what value does the Pac-12 bring to you? And I'm telling you, there's none. Because even if you were to add Fresno State, if you don't have Los Angeles as a TV market, and you go to ABC7, KTLA, or if you go to ABC7 in LA, ask yourself, what value does the Pac-12 have to that ABC television station?
Hey, guys.
Because they're not going to have UCLA or USC. The Big Ten is going to be on Fox and NBC in Los Angeles.
Right.
Right? So if you're an ABC TV station, and if you're ABC and ESPN, why are you bucking for a Pac-12 TV deal when none of your TV stations that carry your programming, DirecTV, Comcast, none of the networks that take, or none of the cable companies that take your ESPN network feed in the West are going to have Pac-12 football on it? Why is that a value? That makes zero sense. That if you are a resident of Southern California and you're a USC fan, or you're a UCLA fan, or you're a San Diego State fan, or you're a Fresno State fan,
Yeah.
you're simply not going to ESPN or ABC. So there's no value if you're an ABC TV station or a cable company carrying ESPN. There's no value in the Pac-12.
Yeah, and I think this might be the best example of that Pac-12 sort of arrogance that we kind of talk about, where you have this idea or this concept, from the Pac-12 and its leadership, where they think that they're above everybody and that they're better than everybody. And I look at this, and if we really work hard to put ourselves in the shoes of, like he said, a local, ABC affiliate in Los Angeles, they don't give a damn if it's the Pac-12 or the Big Ten. They don't care about the letters painted on the field. What do they care about? Well, they care about, satiating their ad partners. Hey, the Toyota dealership or the Beamer dealership or whatever, like any advertiser on a news network wants to be able to place ads during programming that the consumer's going to be on your network watching.
So if you're a USC fan and Toyota wants to target USC, where are they going to spend their money? Well, you're going to spend your money in Fox. You're going to spend your money in NBC. You're going to spend your money in early season ESPN. But are you going to spend your money on KRCR TV in Redding, California? You're not. Why would you place a buy there? If you're trying to target, more to the point, if you're Toyota and you're trying to target UCLA and USC fans, are you going to spend your money on KABC TV in Los Angeles? Well, you're not, because they don't have USC football. They don't have UCLA basketball. That's now on Fox. That's now on NBC. So my point is, in the conversation piece here is, well, great, but this is a bigger deal than how many people are watching TV. Because as it was explained to me last night by this guy on TV, people like Toyota and Lexus, they don't spend their money in Southern California necessarily on sports. I'm not talking about daytime TV or sitcoms, or I'm talking about sports. They don't spend their money on 7 million viewers. They spend their money on USC fans. They spend their money on Laker fans. They spend their money on
the people that would buy their product.
That's why they do that. And I think that's a really salient point, that advertisers target sports. They don't necessarily target how many viewers am I going to get there. They want to spend their money because the target demographic that they're after for their cars, their beer, their clothing, their food, their Taco Bell.
Yeah.
They're watching USC football.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, again, I think that perspective is the key word in this conversation. Whether you're Kliavkoff or you're Toyota or Lexus or you're USC football, the Big Ten, like you gotta really work hard to put yourself in these different parties' shoes. And so when I look at an advertiser, it makes perfect sense to me. I mean, this is the business that we're in, right? Like entertainment advertising space. I mean, that's the business we operate in on a daily basis. And I can tell you, just in personal experience having these conversations, it's absolutely true. People, like business owners, advertisers, companies, they want to be getting in front of the people who want to buy their product. And
yes.
I know that that's not like groundbreaking, right? That's not like, revolutionizing the game or something.
But as simple as it is, it's something that people aren't talking about with these TV deals.
Yeah, everyone's obsessed with ratings. And it's like, well, ratings are great, but these advertisers want to get to the people they know will buy.
And this goes back to Dr. Chris Hill.
Chris
Hill, the former athletic director at Utah, said, well, our fan base is in the Bay Area. So do you think if somebody's targeting Utah fans, they're going to spend on KGO TV in San Francisco? They're not. They're not. Your fan base, doctor, is not in the Bay Area, right? So it's that wrong line of thinking, in my opinion. And when you look at what is left in the Pac-10 now, I mean, you're essentially spending your money in places like Seattle, Washington. You're spending your money in Portland, in Eugene. Like, that's where the major advertising centers in this conference are. That's a big That's a big problem.
Well, and that's why Gonzaga going to the Big 12, if that happens, is a problem. Because imagine you had a map, right? Think about this. Or even pull one up. If you think about geographically speaking, what the Pac has lost here. So you lost this gaping hole in Southern California. You no longer have that. So then you're like, okay, we're kind of pushed up into the Pacific Northwest now. That's kind of our region outside of Utah and Colorado and Arizona. Those couple of schools, most of our value money-wise is in the Pacific Northwest. So then I look at this and I say, okay, that's fine. You can survive on that. But when a school like Gonzaga is leaving, their conference in Spokane, WCC, to go to the Big 12, the Big 12 is getting right into your space.
But think about that brand, though. Think about that brand. And this is where my mind always goes. I don't even care about Spokane, Washington, as valuable as it is or may be. Gonzaga basketball is a brand. And again, if I said to you today, hey, Gonzaga and Kansas are playing for a conference championship.
I'm watching that game.
You're watching that game.
I'm watching that game.
You're absolutely watching that game. And by the way, I think that the interesting part about Gonzaga basketball is who's going to make the decision on where they go.
Gonzaga.
It's Mark Few.
Yeah.
He's going to make the decision. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. All right, let's get your comments in here. Tanner Plummer, first one in this morning. He says, good morning, USA. And as I said in the comments, I hope the train treats you well. Kenai Johnson, you stud. How are you? James Jensen, good morning. James says, driving and letting time fly while listening to the Monty Show.
James, what's your commute like, bro? Where do you drive from?
Yeah,
what's your setup?
What are you driving and where are you driving to?
Yeah.
Hayabusa again says that Walker Kessler is the best center in the NBA. Yeah, I don't know about that.
A little early there, bud. A little early.
You know. Eric and Rowley says, what benefit is there to Gonzaga joining the Big 12? I think being part of the best conference in the country. I think the issue is I think Gonzaga wants to make more money, and they will be able to do that because, it was also one of the more interesting conversations I had yesterday was about joining the Big 12. And these TV deals is not necessarily the only revenue stream. So for somebody like Gonzaga, joining the Big 12 gives them more branding power. It allows them to go back to their shoe partners. It allows them to go back to their corporate sponsors.
Yeah.
It allows them to say, okay, well, now we're getting exposed on a much higher level because where is Gonzaga making most of its money? Well, it's in its uneven revenue share in the WCC because they draw more units for the NCAA tournament than anybody else in that league.
Yeah.
So they make more money than anybody else in that league. And if you're doing that in the Big 12, and I do think if Gonzaga basketball joins the Big 12, I think there is going to be the hill is going to get much steeper for them to be even in the NCAA tournament is going to be much more challenging. I'm not saying they're a bad basketball program, but you are the automatic. You're in the tournament every year in the WCC.
Yeah,
I mean you're the auto bid every single year. But the problem is that's not prestigious. And as good as St. Mary's is this year, that's a top 25 program at St. Mary's.
Yeah.
I mean, as good as they are, that's not a strong league. And if the benefit for Gonzaga is they're going to make more money. They're going to have more ability. I think their recruiting goes up significantly.
right.
Because if Jimmy and Steve know that they're going to play in that league, and I mean, hell, look at Houston right now. I was looking at the AP poll before the show started. Houston, who's coming into the league, is number 3 in the country right now at 20-2.
Yeah.
So if you include Houston right now, you've got Houston at 3. Right? You've got K-State at 7, Kansas at 8, Texas at 10, Baylor at 11. Gonzaga would be in the league. They're 12th right now. Iowa State is 13th. TCU is 15th. I mean, look at how many power clubs we're talking about.
Yes.
In the Big 12. It is by far the best league.
Yep.
And then you consider, anybody notice who's 22nd in the AP poll for basketball right now? It's the San Diego State Aztecs. Think about that. When we talk about, hey, what should the Pac-10 do right now? Your ass had better be on the phone and having meetings at Los Coyotes Cafe in Old Town San Diego, getting the Aztecs in.
Yeah, dude.
Because I'm telling you, that's the only way that the Pac-10 survives.
Yeah.
That's the only way. And I will again say, the brand that is Gonzaga basketball is incredibly valuable. It is in my mind, it's a must win.
Yeah.
It is a must win. Brandon Butler, a member of the program, good morning. Enjoyed chatting with you last night in the Monty Show members only group. I thought last night was one of the better chat nights too.
Yeah.
We had a Jazz game going on. Everybody was talking about how good looking I am. That didn't happen. That was never discussed.
Right.
I mean, it should have been discussed, but it was never discussed.
Right,
The point is, I thought we had a really good chat last night, and I think this whole week is a great example of why you want to become a member of the program.
Right.
Because you are getting access to that members-only Instagram group that's a community. And I think it's been amazing to see Teddy Wayman putting his rubber ducky in his cold plunge. Geez, by the way, the water was cold this morning.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that Teddy Wayman, everybody is just amazed at how long he's in his cold soak for. And
his name is John Cena.
Right? Like we're making John Cena jokes, and it's a lot of fun, and it's been a great community. That is really loud. It's been a great community. So make sure you join the membership. It's only $10 a month, and I get it. It's another $10 a month, but the value proposition is huge. Last night, and I'll give you some information on the Jazz coming up here in about 40 minutes. We'll talk Jazz basketball, but you already know that there is a new hottest player on the trade market for the Jazz, and which team is aggressively pursuing him. I put it in the members only Instagram chat last night. You already know.
You already know.
Brandon Butler says they would be in the best college basketball conference. They would. Absolutely, they would. Let's see. Eric and Raleigh says Gonzaga is middle of the pack in the Big 12. It would hurt them to play a Big 12 conference schedule for a year. Mark Few's an amazing coach and a really good recruiter.
Gonzaga.
I mean, he turned some kid whose last name is Timmy into a star. Right?
Yes.
And anytime you have somebody who's like their last name is their first name,
Right.
you're in trouble already. He's probably a serial killer. But
Right.
Drew Timmy's a hell of a player. Even though he's got two first names. He's a hell of a
this program on NIL.
He's a hell of a player. What'd you name your kid, Timmy? Steve? No, what did you name? No, yeah, his name is.
My name is Luca.
Steve Luca Timmy. Right? How you last name Timmy, man? Greg Romano says once Few leaves, so may Gonzaga's recruiting power. Well, I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. But that's just me. Your boy Jay. What's up, your boy Jay? Big 12 needs more good basketball programs, not teams. Those teams are not always going to be good. Gonzaga would be a great get. Make it done, Big 12. I totally agree. San Diego State, Glenn says Gonzaga to the Big 12 is a legit sucker punch by Yormark to the pack and pulls a Jenga block from a
Gonzaga
from a tenuous situation. I love that visual. We're playing Jenga in the pack.
Yeah, the pack is like two Jenga blocks away from, falling over.
The Pac-10 is like this, and I just see the visual of Yormark Okay, I'll move on. Ahmad El Mabasher.
So, dude.
What's up? Can I just call you Basher? Basher says, remember that Houston is number 3 in the country. Casual's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Your boy Jay.
Okay.
Is that how you say your name? Your boy Jay.
He's probably like, your boy Jay. It's
Okay.
way more fun to be like, your boy Jay.
Hello, Domino's Pizza. Hey, it's your boy Jay. I need a large sausage and pepperoni.
Get it done.
8671 Main Street. Cock. Anyway, your boy Jay says Kansas and Gonzaga is going to be a great rivalry. It is. Can you imagine that? At like 3-4 times a year.
Gonzaga.
Come on. Can you imagine Gonzaga being a really good team And you keep playing that damn drop, it's going to
Gonzaga.
get me. It is going to get me, I'm telling you. Can you imagine, let's say Gonzaga's number 3 in the country.
Right.
An unranked BYU basketball team goes into Spokane, or they come to the Marriott Center, and BYU beats Gonzaga. Now,
dude.
You can't tell me that BYU's not going to recruit better.
So I'm saying, don't tell me that this is some folk tale that Gonzaga's jumping ship. They're going to go to the Big 12. Dude.
That's what I'm saying. Yusuf says it's been a long week. Morning all. Hell
Why?
yeah, it has.
Why has it been a long
Yeah,
week?
you cool, Yusuf? I hope you're all right.
Yeah, what's up?
Your boy Jay.
Your boy Jay.
Says the Big 12 should go after San Diego State next. Well, and I think this is a big question. Should the Big 12, and again, if you're just tuning into the showgram here,
Program.
just tuning into the show this morning, the Big 12, its presidents and ADs are meeting in Dallas today. And their main topic of discussion, by some accounts, is, are we going to add Gonzaga basketball? But should they expand right now? I think this is a really important discussion about timing and target of expansion. Because
Keep it real.
But I think it's what are you trying to do here? That's the question
You're
that I would
trying to
ask.
end the Pac-12. That's what you're trying to do, in my opinion.
Is that truly, should that be your goal?
Well, I don't think that I don't think that the Big 12 and the Big 10 should be operating with this sole goal of ending the pack. But what I do think you should be doing is you should be saying, okay, we're a business entity. Like, the reality is these conferences are business entities unto themselves. And any time in business, your competitors, because that's what they are, competitors, anytime you see weakness in a competitor, you got to get after them. And I look at this and I say, okay, yeah, Gonzaga may not be a Pac-10 team, right? They're a WCC team. I get that. But what Gonzaga is another opportunity for the Pac to try to climb out of the hole that they've dug themselves over the last decade. And so if I'm the Big 12 and I'm Brett Yormark, I'm sitting here saying, yeah, we got to go and add this club. We got to go and get them, because I don't want to give the Pac, our competitor, any more opportunity than they need to have. And I know, I'm sure there are ways the Pac and the Big 12 could work together to make, everything better in some fairy tale ending. But the reality is, and I've maintained this for a long time, I believe that college athletics on the whole, including football, are going to get boiled down to 2 super conferences. That's the direction I think we're heading. And to me, the Pac is the beginning of that process. And that's why I say, if the Big 12 adds the Zags, that's just paving the way, paving the yellow brick road for Oregon, Washington, and the rest of them to be like, yep, we're going to the Big 10. So after that, because think about it, it's a natural domino. Okay, Gonzaga to the Big 12. All right, we're jumping ship going to the Big 10. What's left? Like, I love the opportunity San Diego State presents, but they're not a big enough brand on their own to, keep a conference alive. They're just not.
And see, what I look at in this situation, and I know that we've talked about this quite a bit, what I look at in this situation is, if you're the Big 12, I think you have to ask yourself, what is it that we can do to strengthen our position? That's what today's about. Mm-hmm. And I think certainly Gonzaga basketball is that. But I also think this situation with Texas and Oklahoma is that. And we told you, I don't know, probably a month or 6 weeks ago, that Texas and Oklahoma wanted to leave after this season. They wanted to start the 2023 football season in the Big 12, in the SEC.
Yeah.
And that was summarily rejected. And I think that's an interesting part of the discussion today. How are you not talking about that? Because as awkward as USC and as awkward as USC and UCLA are in the Pac-10 now, tell me that Oklahoma and Texas aren't awkward for the Big 12. If you're having discussions of significance that impacts the future of this conference, adding Gonzaga, how are you allowing Texas and Oklahoma to be on the call or to be in the meeting or to be at the table? You can't do that.
No.
So I think it makes sense to move on from them. But from a financial perspective, I don't know how allowing Texas and Oklahoma to leave the league a year early makes sense. I mean, there have been a lot of ideas floated. Is it a lump sum payment that Texas and Oklahoma would make to the conference?
Come on,
maybe,
let's go, Schlep Rock.
Maybe, I don't know. Are you going to play a bunch of neutral site games in Big 12 stadiums of significance? I don't know. I don't know how you make up for the revenue that would be lost to Fox, ESPN, ABC, and to the rest of the Big 12. I don't know how you make up for that. I don't think it makes any sense to allow Texas and Oklahoma to leave early, but they were certainly trying.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's an option. I just think it's too much of a headache. I do think it makes perfect sense if you're the Big 12 to add Gonzaga today to make that invitation. But what is your goal here? And I think this is a really important question. Is your goal to cripple the Pac-12? I don't think it is. I truly don't think it is. Is that a byproduct, crippling the Pac-10, Pac-12? Are we just going to refer to it as the Pac-10 now?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm tripping all over it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, it's an interesting comparison. A part of me, and this is, probably not reality, but a part of me feels like maybe the best thing to do if you're the Big 12 is just to say, yeah, like, sayonara, because we've added these new teams, right? With, BYU and UCF and the other two, and, you're looking at this new opportunity. And yeah, I mean, you definitely wouldn't have Texas and Oklahoma on any of your calls or anything. The reality is they're just biding time at this point. But, if your biggest problem is making up that revenue, I kind of feel like there's ways to get that accomplished. Like, just from a business standpoint, you can't tell me that this conference and these schools can't find a way. Like, if you're Texas and Oklahoma, you knew before it even came to light, before it was even, the words were even spoken, that you would have to pay a fee to leave, that you would have to cover those costs. So for me, I struggle with the idea that there wouldn't be a plan in place. That said, I don't think that means it's easy to cover that cost. That's still a lot of money,
But that plan would be Texas and Oklahoma's plan, not necessarily the Big 12's plan.
Yeah.
And I don't think you do anything that Texas and Oklahoma want. And that's just my opinion.
No.
But I also think this idea of, hey, are we trying to cripple the Pac-10 or are we trying to do what's best for us? Do what's best for you, because that's probably going to cripple the Pac-10.
Yeah.
I think that's very different. With a similar outcome.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very careful when you go out of your way to damage your competition. I think you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think I agree with that. And I think that, you don't want to operate with malice in your heart. You don't want to be like, oh, we're just out to, kill this conference. But at the same time, when opportunity presents itself and, as much as Gonzaga is not necessarily a free agent, they're pretty much from a business standpoint a free agent. They could go to the Pac. They could go to the Big 12. They could go. I mean, they're like, in reality, they could really go anywhere. But the Big 12, I'm telling you, the Big 12, Brett has talked about it multiple times that he wants to push west and he wants to expand their footprint as the nomenclature goes, and he wants to get that way. And so to me, it's like, I understand Gonzaga's basketball only, but I feel like that's a perfect entry point into that.
I also think that Pac-12 membership, while they are not united on a TV deal, you can't tell me that Oregon and Washington are going to leave for the Big 12. That does not feel like a fit to me at all. And listen, if this conference comes apart, I could see the Arizona schools going to the Big 12. That makes a hell of a lot of sense. With Arizona, again, being a basketball-only school, do they play football?
They have a football facility, but typically they play flag football, so it's a little different. But
I think it's intramurals.
Right.
That they play at Arizona on the football field.
Go play intramurals, brother.
I think it's intramurals, but anyway, I kid. But if Arizona, being a basketball school, because they are, and Arizona State join, I don't see any reason you wouldn't invite San Diego State and Fresno State.
But do you see how those schools feel like a good fit in the Big 12? Like the Arizona school, San Diego State. Like, there are these schools that naturally feel like good fits in certain conferences.
And I include Utah and Oregon in that. But again, and I know this is probably going to piss off all the Utah fans, I don't understand the thinking at Utah. Because, again, I go back to this tweet from Mark Harlan, the athletic director at Utah, replying to John Kurtz, the Pac-12 had a standalone game on Friday night with huge playoff implications, and their biggest brand, USC, playing and was almost $3.5 million behind a non-Oklahoma Texas Big 12 game. To which Mark Harlan, the athletic director at Utah, said, "We're not leaving." And listen, Chris Hill went out of his way to say the Pac-12 is where we are because that's where our alumni are.
Right.
Okay, great. Then you stay your ass in the Pac-12, or excuse me, the Pac-10, and you're gonna wither away and die, because if we're really telling the truth, and I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, but if we're really telling the truth about the Pac-10 and Utah, you are undervalued as a football property in the Pac-10.
Yeah.
Nobody knows the prowess and the awesomeness that is Utah football. And it's a shame that nobody even cares that you're back-to-back Pac-12 champions. Nobody cares because
That's right, T.
Nobody knows. And you deserve better than that at Utah. And I don't know how many different ways I can say it. Kyle Whittingham is arguably the most underrated coach in the country.
Yes.
Because he's in a conference that is irrelevant. And they had a really good football year. And they won the Pac-12 again. And nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Nobody cares. And if you want to be a national player, and I think Utah wants to be, but again, you're not. You're just not. If we're being totally honest about where the Pac-10 is and where a school like Utah is, could you honestly tell me that Utah is competing for national championships? You're back-to-back Pac-12 champion. Didn't even have a seat at the table. Was not close to the college football playoff this year.
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with BYU. What this has to do with is what's best for Utah is to get out of the Pac-10 and go compete in the Big 12. That's the right fit. Take Colorado with you. And I don't want to hear about research institutions, and I don't want to hear about, grants and money. I don't care about that. If you truly believe that the Big 12 is, and there were Utah fans on my Twitter yesterday saying the Big 12 is a cesspool of mediocrity. Okay, cool. Well, then you go languish in the cesspool and play with what? The Mountain West? Because I'm telling you now, if Gonzaga goes to the Big 12, I think it's incredibly damaging for the 10 remaining teams in the Pac-12.
Yes, it is.
And then if Brett Yormark has the balls that I think are the circumference of like the earth,
What's up, big bro?
if he truly is the guy that we all think he is, and he goes after Gonzaga, and he goes after San Diego State, because by the way, if you get Gonzaga to put that pen on a piece of paper and sign that document, and you go drop that document in front of San Diego State, tell me San Diego State's not going to have a very difficult time saying no.
Bet you weren't expecting this one.
Tell me that Fresno State isn't going to have a very difficult time saying no. But I don't think Fresno State's an ad, honestly. And again, I'll say what I've been saying for almost a year now. If you're the Big 12, go get San Diego State, go get the Arizona schools, and get Gonzaga. That's how you win the battle of conference expansion. You don't need Oregon and Washington to cripple the Pac-10.
Yeah.
Would it be great to have Oregon and Washington in the Big 12? Absolutely. No doubt about it. Two power brands in college sports. You don't need them. You want to thrive? Go and get the Arizona schools. Go and get San Diego State, and go and get Gonzaga basketball. That's the beginning of the end for the Pac-10.
The ink isn't dry yet.
Because where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Because you can't, with all due respect to all the Fresno fans, because I'm going to give you the respect you're due, you're irrelevant.
And with all due respect,
You're irrelevant. Nobody cares. Fresno State is not of consequence. Oh, but our media market. Great.
all due respect.
Congratulations. Congratulations, bro. Enjoy. You're irrelevant at Fresno State. Absolutely irrelevant. Does that mean you're not good? No. Does that mean, you suck? No. You're just not a relevant power player. Gonzaga basketball and little old Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
Them freaking Bulldogs up there in Spokane.
Little Drew Timmy.
Gonzaga.
Who names their kid Timmy? The point is, little Timmy and his Gonzaga Bulldogs are far more relevant than Fresno State at anything.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Is what it is, man.
The bottom line is, if you're Utah, you got to get out of that conference. You still don't have a TV deal. By the way, and I'm probably stating the obvious, is it lost on anybody that the Big 12 is having an all-conference meeting in Dallas today and the Pac-12 still doesn't have a new TV deal? Do you think they're not going to talk about that? They are. Do you think that they realize that this is the right time to try and take a kill shot? Because I think they do. And I think they do that in the form of Gonzaga, and I got to believe San Diego State because it is the only chance.
Yeah.
Do you understand what San Diego State represents? Do you understand it? And I want you to think about this.
I want you to listen to me.
Because I think this is huge. I mean, it is not as huge, and this is just my opinion. It's not as huge as the new Ironwood from Traeger.
Come on, man.
Ironwood XL at the Barbecue Pit Stop, boys. Tell me you heard about it on the Monty Show. Barbecue Pit Stop, any of their 5 Utah locations. Logan, Layton, Lehigh, the Jeezy. What's up, St. George? And our good friends in Murray right there across the street from the mall on State Street. Telling you they've got the best equipment. You're home for Traeger equipment. Barbecue Pit Stop. When you hear the words Barbecue Pit Stop, best equipment, BBQPitstop.com, bbqpitstop.com. Barbecue Pit Stop presents all of our college and NFL football talk here on the Monty Show. But the one thing that I think you need to consider is, what does San Diego State represent? Think about this. What does San Diego State represent? The only available property in Southern California. That's it. Who else is there? Are you going to get San Diego? You're not.
Like, for instance.
You're not going to get San Diego. So find me the school that is a P5 caliber program in Southern California.
Yep.
There's one, and it is San Diego State. Program. And I think they are incredibly valuable. Let's not forget Snapdragon Stadium, bruh.
Well, I mean, as much as the name is kind of corny, why do you think they built the stadium?
Yeah. I mean,
renovated
it. No, they built it. It makes them a power player. They've got new facilities. They've got an energized fan base. They've got a top 25 basketball program. They've got one of the emerging football programs. They play baseball there. Like, they have athletics. They're the only available D1 in Southern California. That's it. They're the only one. That's what they represent. And when we talk about kill shots and crippling and you want to kill the Pac-10, you go and take San Diego State.
Yep.
Because if you get Gonzaga and you go to San Diego State, it's going to be awfully difficult for them to say no. That's what I'm saying. Hola, Billy. What's up, my Minnesota Wild homer? He says we can live without him. Okay. Greg Romano says Utah football is not irrelevant. The Utah versus USC or Oregon television ratings prove it. I'm not saying that Utah is irrelevant. Utah is not a national power, and they should be. They should be. But they don't get, again, this is the MLS writer in Minnesota that somehow has an AP football vote.
I want Utah fan to take a step back and open your mind for a moment. Just for a moment, right? Like, we're not, dude, I love Utah football. Like, can we just get that out of the way? Like, there's a reason Brant Keithy's coming to the birthday bash. There's a reason that these guys, that we're trying to get these guys out in the community. There's a reason that we're excited about the fact that Brant and Cam and all these guys are coming back for one more run. We love Utah football, but there is no getting away from the reality of it, that they are not a national power right now. Yes, have they gone to back-to-back Rose Bowls? Yes. Are they back-to-back Pac-12 champions? Yes. Yes, they are. But they do not have the relevancy of any of the top SEC teams, for example. You don't. I would even argue that you don't have the relevancy that Oregon does nationally, and you're better than Oregon.
Yeah.
That's the point.
That's the kick in the bag.
Yeah,
is you're beating USC and they're more relevant than you. You're beating Oregon. Again, the last AP poll, wasn't it last year or something? Utah beats USC, and USC is still ranked ahead of them because, it's USC football. Yeah, let's put them on. Utah, no, you got to move them down. Wait, hold on. Before I cast my ballot, the MLS highlights are on ESPN. Let me watch that, because the Minnesota writer covers MLS, and he has an AP football vote.
Yeah.
Do you think he's voting for USC? He doesn't watch football. USC or Utah? He clearly voted for USC. Hello? How do you say you're not? Oh, my God. No, I'm not doing this today. I am not doing this today. I'm keeping my clothes on. It's not going to happen. Go Tigers. Well, I'm sorry. Go Black 45. Go Tigers. Utah is too loyal to the Pac-10 because they gave them an invite to step up to the big time. That is the problem. Could be. Hola Billy, good morning, sir. He's a member of the program. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Utah in the Pac will always be better than any team in the Big 12. Okay. It is a little early to be smoking meth. I mean, that's just my opinion,
Right.
Billy. I mean, listen, man. I mean, hallucinogens have their place in, in society.
Right.
I just don't think it's at 6:48 in the morning. Big 12 fan says Washington and Oregon have been doing it for years. That is why they are more relevant. Utah's been doing it for more than a decade. They're the original BCS busters.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to Pervin Meyer. What are we even talking about? Like, I absolutely think that they're Utah. This is the problem.
Yeah.
Utah is relevant. Utah's a power program.
Yeah.
Utah's a power program. People don't know it.
Yeah.
People don't know it. People have no idea. No idea. Brian Johnson, Alex Smith, like Kyle Whittingham, Pervin Meyer, they have it. Tanner Plummer says, random question. When you guys refer to BYU fans or Utah fans or Jazz fans, why do you say them in singular come on, man. I ain't here for that today. Guys, can I ask you a question? Like, what participle are you talking about here? Are you isosceles or are you past participle nomenclature?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I don't know. I don't know. Football at 50 and 60 seconds, but Gonzaga is very relevant in basketball. They
Gonzaga.
are. Absolutely, they are. Brett Robbins says Pop Lizard Stadium. Snapdragon
Pop
to me.
Lizard Stadium.
But Snapdragon Stadium is not awkward to me. I mean, I think Snapdragon's a tech company. I think don't they make components? That's a component company.
Components.
That's a big name. I think that's a great name for a stadium.
Yeah.
San Diego State says, as is Qualcomm. Yeah, you're an Aztec fan.
Yeah,
Glenn,
Qualcomm.
what is Snapdragon? That's what I want to know. Big 12 fan says, Big 12 doesn't want the arrogance of Utah. Yeah, they do. Anybody that says that the Big 12 doesn't want Utah is being more arrogant than the Pac-10.
Yeah.
They are. Absolutely they are. But that's just me. Louis Capazzo, what's up in the GZ? He says, hey, Hola Billy, loyalty gets you nowhere when it comes to business. Zero.